there's something INFJs pick up on almost instantly, something most people don't even realize is there. Within seconds of meeting someone, they begin noticing details that go far beyond words: tone, energy, subtle inconsistencies, emotional signals that don't match what's being said. And while others are still forming a first impression, the INFJ is already sensing a deeper pattern beneath the surface. What makes this ability so powerful is that it's not based on guessing, it's built from observation and connection. INFJs naturally read between the lines. They notice how someone pauses before answering, how their expression shifts when a topic changes, how their behavior aligns or doesn't with their words. These details may seem small, but together they form a clear picture faster than most people expect. In this video, we're breaking down what INFJs notice in just 5 seconds that others completely miss: the hidden signals, the subtle patterns, and the psychological cues that reveal more than what's being said. If you've ever felt like you understand people too quickly without knowing how, stay until the end and subscribe to Brainy Quiet Mind for more insights into the silent awareness of the INFJ mind. They notice inconsistencies between words and body language immediately: instant mismatch, silent contradiction, pattern alert. Within seconds, the INFJ registers when something doesn't align. The words may sound confident, calm, or reassuring, but the body tells a different story. A slight hesitation before speaking, a forced smile that fades too quickly, eyes that shift away at the wrong moment. These signals don't appear loudly, they appear subtly, but for the INFJ, subtle is enough. They don't need a clear contradiction to notice the gap. The moment the words and the behavior don't match, something in their awareness activates. This perception doesn't come from focusing on one detail alone. It comes from seeing multiple layers at the same time. The INFJ listens to what is being said while observing how it is being expressed. They notice the rhythm of speech, the timing of gestures, the alignment between tone and emotion. When these elements move together, everything feels natural. But when one shifts slightly out of place, the entire interaction feels different. The INFJ doesn't always label it immediately, but they feel it, a quiet signal that something is not fully genuine. For others, this moment often passes unnoticed. The conversation continues, the words are accepted, the interaction remains at the surface. But for the INFJ, the dynamic has already changed. They may not confront it, they may not question it directly, but internally they begin observing more closely. Their attention sharpens, their responses become more measured, and their trust becomes more selective. Because once they notice that inconsistency, they don't ignore it, they follow it. And over time, that small mismatch either disappears or reveals a deeper pattern that was present from the very first seconds. They pick up on emotional energy shifts the moment they enter a space: instant scan, emotional atmosphere, silent awareness. The moment an INFJ steps into a room, something registers before a single word is spoken. It's not visual first, it's felt. The tension in the air, the calmness, the unease, the hidden friction between people. All of it becomes noticeable almost immediately. Others may walk in and adjust gradually, but the INFJ senses the emotional climate in seconds. The room speaks without speaking, and they hear it clearly. This awareness comes from how they read collective energy, not just individuals. They notice how people sit, how they look at each other, how conversations pause or flow. Even if everyone appears normal on the surface, something beneath that surface reveals the truth: a slight silence where there should be ease, a forced interaction that doesn't fully connect, a subtle discomfort that no one addresses directly. These signals combine into a clear impression. The INFJ doesn't need to analyze it in that moment, they feel it as a whole. For others, this shift in energy may go unnoticed or be explained later. But for the INFJ, it becomes the lens through which they experience the entire interaction. If the space feels tense, they adjust their behavior instinctively. If it feels open, they engage more naturally. And if something feels off, even without a clear reason, they remain observant rather than fully immersed. This is why their presence often feels different. They are not just entering a space physically, they are reading it emotionally. And once they sense that atmosphere, it shapes everything that follows long before anyone else realizes what is happening. They sense when someone is being genuine or holding something back, genuine or guarded, open or concealed. Immediate read. Within moments of interaction, the INFJ begins sensing the difference between authenticity and restraint. It's not based on what is said alone, it's based on how it feels. When someone is genuine, their words, tone, and energy align naturally. There is no friction, no delay, no hidden layer beneath the expression. But when something is being held back, even slightly, the INFJ notices a pause that lingers too long, a response that feels incomplete, a tone that doesn't fully match the message. These are not loud signals, but they are enough. This perception works through subtle emotional cues. The INFJ doesn't need clear evidence to feel that something is missing. They sense when someone is filtering their words, adjusting their behavior, or presenting only part of themselves. It's not about assuming dishonesty. It's about recognizing incompleteness. The conversation may continue smoothly, but internally, the INFJ is aware that what is being shared is not the full picture. They don't always question it directly. Instead, they observe how consistent that feeling is over time. For others, this distinction often goes unnoticed. The interaction feels normal, the words are accepted, and nothing seems out of place. But for the INFJ, the dynamic has already shifted. They become more attentive, more selective, more aware of how the person reveals themselves in different moments. If the authenticity remains consistent, trust builds naturally. But if the sense of holding back continues, the INFJ adjusts internally, not through confrontation, but through observation. Because once they sense that difference between what is shown and what is withheld, they don't ignore it. They follow it until it becomes clear. They observe subtle facial expressions that reveal hidden emotions, micro-expressions, fleeting signals, hidden emotions exposed. An INFJ doesn't just look at a face, they read it, not the obvious expressions, but the ones that appear for a fraction of a second and disappear just as quickly. A smile that fades too early, eyes that tense before relaxing, a slight tightening around the mouth when a certain topic is mentioned. These moments are easy to miss, almost invisible. But for the INFJ, they stand out immediately. Because they don't focus on what stays, they notice what slips. This awareness comes from watching transitions, not just expressions. They pay attention to how a face changes between emotions. What appears before the smile? What disappears after the answer? These small shifts carry meaning. A person may present calm, but a brief flash of discomfort appears before they speak. They may appear confident, yet their expression tightens when challenged. The INFJ doesn't need these signals to last. The fact that they appear at all is enough. They register it, store it, and connect it to everything else they observe. For others, these expressions pass unnoticed, too quick to be processed consciously. The conversation continues, the words take priority, and the moment disappears. But for the INFJ, that moment remains. It becomes part of the understanding they build silently. They don't interrupt, they don't point it out, they don't react immediately. They simply observe. And as more of these subtle signals appear, a clearer emotional picture forms, because while words can be controlled, expressions often cannot. And in those brief, unguarded moments, the INFJ sees what was never meant to be shown. They detect tone changes that don't match the message-tone mismatch. Subtle shift, hidden signal. An INFJ doesn't just listen to words, they listen to how those words are delivered. The message may sound positive, calm, or reassuring, but if the tone carries something different, they notice immediately. A sentence meant to sound relaxed may carry tension underneath. A friendly response may feel slightly forced. A casual comment may have an edge that doesn't belong there. These shifts are small, almost unnoticeable to most people, but for the INFJ, they stand out clearly. This awareness comes from how they process emotional layers within communication. They don't separate tone from meaning, they combine them. When the two don't align, something feels incomplete. The INFJ begins to question not the words themselves, but what sits beneath them. Was that response genuine or was it adjusted? Was that calmness natural or controlled? They don't jump to conclusions immediately. Instead, they observe how the tone changes across different moments, comparing it to context, behavior, and emotional consistency. For others, these changes often pass without attention. The words are accepted at face value, and the conversation continues. But for the INFJ, the dynamic has already shifted. They may respond normally, but internally they become more aware, more precise, more observant. Their trust doesn't break instantly. It adjusts quietly. because once they notice that the tone doesn't match the message, they understand that something is being filtered. And from that moment forward, they stop listening only to what is said and start paying closer attention to how it is said. They recognize confidence versus insecurity beneath behavior, surface confidence, hidden insecurity. Immediate distinction. An INFJ doesn't take behavior at face value. What looks like confidence to others is quickly examined beneath the surface. A strong voice, direct eye contact, assertive language, these signals can suggest certainty. But the INFJ looks deeper. Is the confidence steady or forced? Does it remain consistent under pressure? Does the tone stay grounded, or does it shift when challenged? Within seconds, they begin sensing whether the confidence is genuine or simply a controlled display. This perception comes from observing how behavior changes across moments. True confidence tends to be stable. It doesn't need to prove itself constantly. It remains calm, even when questioned. In contrast, insecurity often reveals itself through subtle reactions, a defensive tone when challenged, a need to dominate the conversation, a slight tension behind assertive words. The INFJ doesn't need obvious signs to recognize this. They notice the small fluctuations, the moments where the behavior doesn't hold its shape. And in those moments, the underlying emotion becomes visible. For others, these differences are easy to overlook. Confidence is accepted as confidence, and behavior is taken at its surface meaning. But for the INFJ, the deeper layer becomes the real signal. They don't respond only to what is presented, they respond to what supports it internally. If the confidence is genuine, their trust grows naturally. But if it feels constructed or unstable, they adjust their perception quietly, not through judgment, but through awareness. Because once they recognize the difference between what is shown and what is felt beneath it, the interaction changes, and from that point on, they are no longer engaging with the behavior alone. They are engaging with the truth behind it. They notice how someone reacts under slight pressure or discomfort. Pressure response, subtle stress. True behavior revealed. An INFJ doesn't wait for extreme situations to understand someone. They watch what happens in small moments of pressure. A simple question that requires honesty, a slight disagreement, a pause that interrupts comfort. These moments seem insignificant, almost ordinary. But for the INFJ, they are revealing, because it's not what someone does when everything is easy that defines them. It's how they react when something feels slightly uncomfortable. This awareness focuses on change. How does the person shift when the situation is no longer smooth? Does their tone become defensive? Do they avoid the question, redirect the conversation, or remain steady? The INFJ observes how quickly the reaction appears and how controlled it is. A calm response under pressure suggests stability. A sudden shift in behavior suggests something beneath the surface. These reactions are not judged instantly. They are noted, stored, and compared over time. Because one moment shows a possibility, but repeated moments reveal a pattern. For others, these situations pass without deeper attention. A small reaction is dismissed as normal. A slight discomfort is ignored. But for the INFJ, these are the moments where clarity begins forming. They don't need dramatic events to understand someone's character. They look at how a person handles subtle tension, how they respond when things don't go perfectly, how they manage discomfort without preparation. And from those small reactions, a larger picture appears. Because under slight pressure, behavior becomes less controlled, less filtered, more real. And that is exactly what the INFJ is watching for. They sense underlying intentions without needing direct evidence, immediate sensing, subtle cues. Intentions revealed. An INFJ often understands what someone wants or means long before it is stated openly. They don't wait for clear proof, and they don't rely only on direct behavior. Instead, they pick up on the small signals that point toward intention, the way someone chooses their words, the timing of their responses, the direction of their attention. These details may seem ordinary, but when combined, they form a clear impression, and that impression appears quickly, almost instantly. This ability is not based on guessing. It comes from pattern recognition working beneath awareness. The INFJ connects tone, behavior, context, and emotional signals into a single understanding. If someone speaks kindly but carries tension underneath, it is noticed. If someone's actions don't fully match their stated goal, it is registered. They don't argue, explain. Have they explain? They simply feel that something is aligned or misaligned. And once that feeling appears, it becomes difficult to ignore. For others, intention often remains hidden until something obvious reveals it. Words are taken at face value, and behavior is interpreted as it appears. But for the INFJ, the underlying layer becomes visible early. They may not confront it directly, they may not express it out loud, but internally, their perception adjusts. Their trust becomes more selective, their response is more measured, their awareness more focused. Because once they sense intention beneath the surface, they stop engaging only with what is visible. They begin engaging with what is actually driving the behavior. And in that shift, the interaction changes, not because something was proven, but because something was understood. What looks like intuition is actually awareness moving faster than most people can explain. INFJs don't guess. They notice, connect, and understand before the surface even has time to catch up. The small details, the subtle shifts, the hidden signals, they're always there. Most people just don't see them. But once you start recognizing them, you realize how much is being revealed in silence. If this feels familiar, don't ignore it, refine it. Let me know in the comments which of these you notice the most. And if you want more insights into the silent patterns most people miss, subscribe to Brainy Quiet Mind, where awareness becomes your greatest advantage.